this is Debbie Lynn Toomey, Tufts Medical Center's Injury Prevention Coordinator. You're watching Aging Strong, found under Health Links, and this program is sponsored by the Quincy Health Department. Today, I have two guest speakers who I had on a few months ago, and I hope you saw that program. They talked about summer preparedness. So this time of the year in New England, especially changing of the season, we're going into the winter season. So their topic is winter preparedness.
So my name's Sarah, and I'm the Emergency Preparedness Coordinator for the Brookline Public Health and Human Services Department. And basically, I oversee a group of volunteers in Brookline called the Medical Reserve Corps, the MRC. We have just over 200 volunteers, and we respond to emergencies and also planned events throughout the town. And then I also, on the emergency preparedness side, I do a lot of education in the community. Like Debbie said, summer preparedness, vital documents, communication plans, all sorts of topics that we present throughout the year.
Sophie Gordon, and I'm the Emergency Preparedness Buddies Program Coordinator with the Office of Emergency Management. And basically, I'm responsible for the education on emergency preparedness, especially for vulnerable populations. I definitely, my target population is elders, but we really try to educate the community as a whole. I'm usually, Sarah and I work in conjunction, even though we're in different departments, and we do a lot of the education piece on emergency preparedness together. So today we're going to talk about winter preparedness. Like you said, Debbie, change of season, New England, winters can be brutal. We've had some warmer winters, but, it doesn't mean that we're going to get another, mild winter again. We could have a very cold and snowy winter. So we definitely want to think ahead of time what we can do to prepare for winter. So we're going to do our presentation. There are a few things that you can do to prepare your home ahead of time. You want to think about winterizing your home and, install the weather stripping, the insulation. If you had storm windows that you removed in the summertime, now is a good time to start putting them back in. Nights are getting colder, so that it's still, even though some days are still warm, you still want to start doing this. You don't want to wait the last minute. If you have a home that has water lines that aren't very well insulated, think about ways to insulate them better, or make sure you have some little heaters that you can put in on those really cold days. And then clean out your gutters and repair the roof leaks. All these things can be done. Now is a great time to do them when it's still warm enough and nice enough. You want to make sure your heating system is checked, inspected, and clean. Make sure that it's working. And if you have fireplace and chimneys, if you intend of using them, you want to make sure that they're cleaned and inspected. It's a great alternate heating source. But it has to be safe. You don't want to create a fire in your home. You want to make sure your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors are working. We always say, twice a year, change the batteries. When the time change, we just changed the time last week. So, now's a good time to do it. Make sure that you change your batteries and make sure that they're all in working condition. I just want to point out that those detectors have a shelf life. So they do expire. So make sure also that they are still good. So if you start hearing a little beep, once in a while, that comes up, but it's not really blaring, that's a sign that either your battery is low or that your carbon monoxide or smoke detectors are expired and you need to get them changed.
And it usually happens in the middle of the night at 2 a.m.
Always.
You hear that sound and you go running around trying to figure out which one it is.
Yes, absolutely. And then, for older adults in particular, we recommend to keep an easy-to-read thermometer in an indoor location. The reason is that as we age, our ability to feel change of temperature is changed, and sometimes we are more susceptible to health problems caused by cold. So it's a good way to know. So if you know that you don't feel the cold as you used to. Just like we talked about in the summer, you might not feel the heat, or you might not feel hydrated. In the winter, it's the same thing. You might not feel that, but that doesn't mean that your body isn't fighting the cold. So just know yourself and do what's appropriate for you. All right, so you prepared your home. You want to make sure that you have heat. So the first thing I want to say, never ever use your stove to heat your home. It is not safe. So you want to use your heater. If you have rooms that tend to be cold, I have one in my home. It's like 3 windows with 3 walls that are outside, and the room can never be warm enough. The whole house is fine, but that room is always cold. We have a little electric space heater with an automatic shut off and non-glowing elements. Those are really safe. You just want to make sure that they're placed at least 3 feet away from all drapes, furniture, or bedding, and that if you use an extension cord, that it's not in the middle, so you're not causing a tripping hazard. So those are great ways to, make a room a little bit warmer if you have trouble heating your place. And then if you have a fireplace or a wood stove, obviously those are great to use, especially if, you lose electricity and you don't have your, heat. Just make sure that they're properly vented to the outside, and, do not burn paper in your fireplace. But other than that, they're great. And then, obviously have plenty of blankets on hand. If there's a huge storm and we lose power, even if it's a few hours, your home could get really cold, and being able to bundle up inside and stay warm is really critical. All right, and then let's talk about light safety. Again, if we had a power failure, you want to be able to have some other sources of light. We do not recommend candles as they are a fire hazard. It's really easy to forget about them. If you have pets, they could be knocked down and create a fire. So we don't recommend candles if you can use something else. Flashlights, crank flashlights, LED lanterns are great. So we have like a little LED lantern. Those are great source of light. You can, if you have a few of them, you can have them in different rooms and use them as needed. Always have extra batteries. If your outage lasts for hours, you want to make sure that you can have batteries to continue having light.
And also, we definitely recommend preparing ahead of time if there's a storm coming. You're not always going to know when the storm is coming, but we want to encourage people to maybe start tuning into the weather a little bit more often in the winter months, so that you can be more prepared to know when a storm is coming. I mean, I'm sure you'll hear all over the radio, that we have a storm coming. Try to pick up your medications ahead of time. We're going to talk about a lot of things to do ahead of time. This is so that, we're telling you this so that you can avoid going out during the storm or right after the storm. So it may seem like a long list of items, but it's just trying to get people in the state of mind of being prepared and getting all this stuff taken care of when there's a day like this and it's kind of a mild day, so that you're ready ahead of time. And a lot of this stuff you can do well in advance. You don't have to do it like right before the storm is coming.
And if you have a go bag, you probably already have all this prepared already in your home. So really, there's not much to do except for maybe making sure that your medication is still good and not expired, for example.
Yeah, and also you can have medications delivered now, so it's a little bit easier to get stuff to your home. Make sure, as we mentioned before, make sure you have plenty of blankets on hand.
So we have those little Mylar blankets, the ones that people give, that you get after a marathon. They take no space. I mean, really like this. And so you can have plenty of them, and they keep you really warm, right,
Really
Sarah?
warm,
She
yeah.
runs marathons, so she uses them all the time.
Yes, these are amazing. They're so compact, they're so thin, but they really do keep the heat in. So definitely we recommend having a couple of these on hand just because it's less bulky than storing like huge blankets. Um, Also make sure you have that shelf stable food stocked in your house. And so you can do this, you want to avoid the rush of people that are going to the store the day before the storm to get items, to get food and water and all those things. So do this now that the shelf stable foods last for a while. That's the point. So go out there now and stock up on those foods that don't require cooking if you can, as well as plenty of water. You never know how long you're going to be stuck in the house. So you want to make sure that you are self-sufficient for a few days.
Don't forget a manual can opener.
Yes, yeah. If you've stocked up on food that's canned and you only have an electric can opener, make sure as a backup you have that manual. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get into your food that you've just purchased. So also make sure that all your devices are fully charged. So cell phones, laptops, tablets, everything, as well as your backup chargers. You want to keep them charged as well.
And we highly recommend that you have a backup charger. They're very easily, you find them everywhere. You can buy them very easily. They can be big, they can be small. Just make sure they're charged well so that you can plug in your phone or your laptop in case you lose power and you don't have any more charge.
Yeah, and I've used those plenty of times when it's not a storm, but just when things have happened or I've forgotten to charge my phone or it goes down drastically. So those are great to have those backup chargers. And then, as we mentioned, keep a up-to-date emergency kit or go bag on hand. And so items in that kit could include a flashlight, either battery operated or crank flashlight. We have a option here that is battery operated.
Yeah, it's a battery operated. Not only it's a flashlight, but it's also a radio.
Yes, so dual purpose.
And just make sure that you have extra batteries for it.
Exactly.
Can I just ask, sorry, ladies, for those people who may be watching, they may not be familiar with the term go bag. Can you explain what that is? So that way people, and also what types of bags can be used for go bags?
Sure. So we do a whole unit on go bags, and basically it's a kit or that you put together. And you store in an accessible place in your home, maybe near the front door or near the back door. And it basically has a bunch of emergency items in it. So things we just mentioned, like flashlights, radios, cell phone chargers, like a 3 to 5 day supply of food and water, medications, anything that you would need if you had to evacuate your home quickly. So if you have to leave your house very quickly, you're not going to have time to go around and pack up all your stuff, everything that you need to take with you, as well as if you were to, be heading to the hospital, same type of idea, good to have that bag so that you can just grab it.
And then in terms of the bag, it's really what you can carry. So, whatever, you have to be able to independently carry your bag. So is it a backpack? Is it a suitcase on wheels? Is it a box? Whatever works for you is really the best option.
Right. And the emergency kits, go bags are just for you. So if you have 4 people in your family, you want to make sure that everyone has their own
bag and that they can carry their bag. Obviously, if they're children that can't carry their bag, that's different. But the whole purpose would be that you can independently carry your bag.
That's a very good point, because some people might say, oh, okay, so it's an emergency bag that I can put all my things in it just in case of emergency. And, for those of us who have packed for trips before. There are people who could travel lightly, and there are people who need a lot of check-in luggages, right? So I guess
I like
what
to
you're
have
saying is,
options.
yeah, the rule of thumb is making sure that one person can carry their own go bag and not rely on another person, except if they are younger children.
Right.
Exactly.
And then we recommend anything that that you can't store in your go bag because you're using. We have them write a little note and kind of attach it to the front of the bag, so I know, okay, I have to grab my medication that's in the refrigerator before grabbing my bag. So anything that you just can't part with on a daily basis, just leave a little note for yourself to remind you, as well as don't forget about your pets. So we do a whole pet go bag as well, and a whole pet unit. But so your pets need their own go bag too. So they need extra food, they need their medications, they need
Medical records.
yeah, their medical records is really important, especially if you're headed to a shelter, all that stuff. So
We can talk for hours.
yeah, hours.
Well, I'll have to have you come back again to talk about that, because that makes sense actually, to have a go bag for your pets. I've never even thought of that.
Yep.
Yeah, pets are like part of the family. So
Mhm.
if they go, you go. Okay, so okay, other things in the emergency kit, 10-day supply of your medication, and then cat litter, sand, ice melt for and that's just something good to have at your home anyway during the winter months. And then prearrange to have someone check on you. So
Super important,
yes.
especially if you live alone.
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, we really stress building
Yeah.
those relationships with neighbors.
Yeah.
Which brings us to, if you have a caretaker, you want to prepare for their absence if they're not able to get to your home. So always have a plan B in that case. So build relationships with neighbors, trustworthy neighbors, and incorporate and family, and incorporate them into your emergency plan so that you have a plan B if your caregiver can't get to your house. Also, you want to think about snow removal and the plowing schedule in your area. If you're on a road that gets plowed 3 days after the storm, kind of make a note of that. You might have to prepare more things ahead of time or have more items in case you are, stranded at home for a longer period of time. And then, if you have room in your budget, you can try to line up some snow removal, whether that's plowing or shoveling. I know some communities have programs where they enlist teens to sign up to shovel. They coordinate teenagers and senior citizens, and they connect them for shoveling services. So, if look into that, see if your community has something to offer. And then, as well as transportation, you're going to need an alternate mode of transportation if your caretaker isn't there. So relatives, friends, neighbors. If you have a smartphone, try downloading those rideshare apps.
And practice using them.
Yes, Uber, Lyft. They can be really convenient. But yeah, you'll have to practice doing that and getting that set up. And hopefully you can get someone who's tech savvy to help you get that. Once it's on your phone and in an app, then they can be really helpful. And then check your home for safety. Reduce the risk of accidents. Remember, your caregiver is not there, so you just want to make sure that you're double checking for screens on fireplaces and everything that Sophie mentioned about heaters. Make sure you don't have trip hazards, that they're not near flammable objects, and just keep your home as safe as possible. And then also, we want to mention too, to make sure or see if you and your caregiver can receive, if you have emergency notifications in your community, have everyone sign up for those. You sign up for them, have your caretaker sign up, so that you know what's going on. You know if there's parking bans, you know if there's power outages, that will keep you well informed of what's happening in your area. So always a good idea to have to get those notifications.
Yeah, and your caregiver might not live in your community, but they need to know that there's a parking ban and that they can't come because they won't be able to park, for example. So it's very important that, they both sign up for that emergency notification from the community where you live.
Right.
Very good point.
And then staying warm indoors. So, set your heat to 68 degrees. Wear long underwear under your clothes if you need to. Socks, slippers. Your feet. If your feet, we talked about this, I think, in summer. But if your feet are warm, you're going to be warm. Like your feet are an important one. So make sure that your feet are warm. Also, you lose heat out of your head. So, keep those hats on. I know some people have a no hat indoor rule, but sometimes if it's cold enough, you can make an exception for that. Blankets over your legs, long johns under your pajamas, extra blankets, all that stuff. I think people mainly are aware of how to stay warm, but just in case you can be cold. I'm always cold. I'm always cold.
I have to say the blanket is my best friend in the winter. Yeah. So I swear by blankets. I swear by bundling up, and that's what keeps me warm.
Yeah, same.
Great tips.
Yeah, so we just did all the indoors, right? We went to the house, to how to stay warm in the house, how to heat ourselves, how to, the lights. So now we're going to move to the great outdoors. So I think most of us know, we've been in New England for a long time, and we know how to, go outside and how to dress. But I'm just going to repeat a few things that I think are important. We want to bundle up for outside. So by bundling up, we want to wear loose layers of clothing. And the reason that we want to wear loose layers of clothing, first of all, it's because, in the winter, it's really cold outside, but then it's really hot inside. So we want to be able to take off our clothes as we go in. But it's also because in between the layers, there's a little bit of air that's trapped in between, and that air warms up, and that's what's going to keep you warm. It's that air that is in between those layers that will keep you warm. So loose layers of clothing, really important. You want to put a hat on that covers your ears and a scarf that covers your neck. And then wear mittens. So mittens versus gloves. Why mittens? Again, because when you wear a mitten, there's a lot of air in the mittens, much more than in gloves. And again, the air is going to warm up in your mittens, and that's what's going to keep you warm. Now, I don't
be able to do anything.
Yeah, but the problem is that now you have your mittens on and you can't do anything, right? You're outside and you can't text on your phone, and you can't put those coins in the parking meter, right? So I personally, I don't like mittens. I feel like I can't do anything. So what I do in those really, really cold days is I have very thin gloves, and I put them under my mittens, so that when I'm outside and I need to use my hands, I can remove my mitten, and I'm not completely exposed to the cold. So, those are things that you can do.
I'm just going to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
We also have these hand warmers, and these are disposable. I guess you could say hand warmers. They're just activated by air, and they last about 12 hours. So you can put these in your gloves, in your mittens,
In your pockets.
If your shoes or boots have enough room, you can slide it in your shoe. These are great. And it doesn't need to be below freezing for these I use these all the time. So this is a really great option.
Yeah. Another option, if you wanted to have rechargeable ones, you can. They do exist. Obviously, they're bulkier, so they're great maybe for your pocket or maybe for your gloves, but they're not super practical. But it gets it can get costly to have the disposable hand warmer. So that's another option you can look into.
Yeah, and they actually make a lot of clothes that are heated. So technology is really advanced, I feel like, in this area. And so there's vests that come with battery packs that are heated vests. There's socks, there's shirts, sure. There's all sorts of clothing that
There are gloves.
heated.
So these gloves are heated gloves. So they look like normal gloves. They have a little pocket here with a battery. This battery can be charged. And then so they're great. They're a little bit heavier than normal gloves because of the battery, and they might be a little stiffer just because of the thing that they have to put in for it to heat. But they're a great option, and we'll talk about why we want to use them a little bit later on. But these are a great option. There's scarves that are heated as well that you can use with that are rechargeable. So there's definitely ways to do it. It's just a little heavier than the traditional
Right.
non-heated piece of clothing. All right, I'm going to talk about a little addition. Oh yeah, waterproof coat, really important, and waterproof boots with good tracking underneath tracks underneath for the winter are also a must-have. So if you want to check on that before the winter comes, and if you have the budget to acquire really good coat and boots, I think it's really worth it in New England to have that.
Yeah, and waterproof is the key here because yes, you need a warm coat, but if it's snowing or raining, it's just going to go right through a regular coat, even if it's super warm. So that waterproof option is a must.
Yeah. Additional tips. You want to change into dry clothes as soon as you can. If you are wet and it's cold, you're not gonna be able to warm up. So if you come back from shoveling or you come back from outside and you are a little bit wet, right away come in, take off all the wet clothes, make sure you're completely dried, and that will help you warm up. So again, the layers, if you get overheated, you're going to start sweating, and that's going to make you feel cold. You're going to lose body weight, so body height, body heat. Thank you. So anyway, remove the layers if you're too hot. And then just like in the summer, eat well-balanced meals, avoid alcoholic and caffeinated drinks, instead drink warm beverages, broth to keep you warm. I mean, we always say, we sometimes just take a mug with hot water just to warm up, and just it warms your hand and you can drink it and it warms your body as well. So
actually, so I've already switched over to, I drink like either room temperature or warm water in the winter. People think that's so weird, but the warmer water actually hydrates you quicker than cold water. Cold water, your body has to warm up before it'll circulate. So, but I really find like if I drink freezing cold water in the winter, it just makes my whole body super cold. So I'm not drinking hot water yet, but it's definitely room temperature. But you'll probably drink more water in the winter if it's a little bit warmer.
Yeah. Don't ignore shivering. Shivering is the first sign that your body is losing heat. So definitely if you start shivering, that's a sign that you are not able to keep your body temperature to where it needs to be. So, go put another layer, or, make sure, warm your hands, or make sure your feet are warm enough. Those are good things to do. And then I just want to talk about how some health problems can make your body, make it hard for your body to stay warm. So if you have health conditions such as diabetes, thyroid problems, Parkinson's, or even some arthritis disease, that can be very common for you to have some hard time staying warm. And then also, if you take some medications, they can be the culprit for you to be feeling cold all the time. So if you're always feeling cold and you're taking medication, maybe you want to check with your doctor and see if that's what's causing it. And that is a segue to hypothermia. So hypothermia is when your body loses more heat than it can produce. So your body temperature is going to go down, and your body isn't able to warm it up. So our normal body temperature is 98.6. If our temperature goes to 95 or under, we are in hypothermia. That's it. It become dangerous. So signs of hypothermia include shivering, weak pulse, shallow breathing, confusion, exhaustion, memory loss, slurred speech, and drowsiness. There are some risk factors. So some of it can be medical conditions, some of it could be medication, but also, alcohol, fatigue, open wounds, are all things that when your body is fighting an infection, when your body is not at its best, your body doesn't produce what it needs to keep you at the temperature you need to.
Yeah, it becomes more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And harder to maintain your temperature. But just to say, mild hypothermia, well, hypothermia is treatable. Mild hypothermia is easily treated. It's when it's untreated is when it becomes a medical emergency.
Yeah. So really, if it's mild, right away go in a, warm place and warm up, and, you'll probably be fine. It's when your body's under 95, that is a medical emergency. I mean, if you're unconscious, or if you are under, temperature is under 95, you need to call 911 immediately. This is, it's going to be really hard to warm up on your own.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are in a mild, you're not at a critical stage of hypothermia, you want to get yourself or the person that has hypothermia into a warm room, remove any wet clothing. Again, if you're wet, you're not going to be able to warm up. You want to warm the chest, neck, head, groin with an electric blanket. You want to be careful though with electric blanket. You don't want to burn somebody. So, make sure that, if you're really cold, people that are really cold might not feel the heat on their skin right away. So you don't want to burn somebody. So make sure that it's safe. So on this, maybe a low setting to start. You can use skin to skin also. That's, if you hug somebody, you'll warm them up. And again, blankets, towels, sheets, anything that you can find to bundle somebody up to keep them warm. Warm drinks. Again, I mean, we love warm drinks. Sarah and I were always like, warm water, broth, even just holding, a hot mug, a warm mug, will warm your hands.
Yeah. Don't rub any affected areas that are really cold.
Mm-hmm.
That can be dangerous. And no alcohol. That will not help as well.
Yeah. After your body, once you start feeling warm, just keep the person bundled up for a while, and then if really the person has trouble warming up, even if it's mild, if there's if it takes too long, just get the medical attention if you can.
Yeah, and no hot baths.
Yeah, no hot bath. So what not to do?
You want to stay dry.
Don't use your radiant heaters. It says do not affect do not rub the areas of skin. So don't warm up somebody by rubbing their skin. No alcohol, and avoid hot bath.
Can I just ask a question? Because usually that's kind of what people automatically do when they're cold is they rub their hands, right? If their hands are cold, and then if they notice somebody having a hard time warming up their hands, they start rubbing that person's hands just to kind of help with friction and also added heat. And as far as drinking the alcohol, typically a long time ago, at least, you'd see the Saint Bernard with the the little
Yeah,
alcohol,
with the little
right?
cap.
I remember that growing up in cartoons, right? So you'd see that, and then heating up next to a radiant heat, avoiding that. So these are just new concepts, I guess, that people really need to think about as far as helping people with hypothermia. Is that correct?
So yeah, so for the hands of rubbing, I mean, if your tissues are unaffected, it's fine.
Yeah,
But,
if
you
you're
know,
just cold, that's okay.
That's okay. What I think is better, honestly, is if your hands are cold, put them under your arms, under your armpit.
Yeah.
It's really warm there, and then you're not rubbing and you're actually warming. So this is a much better way to do it than rubbing your hands.
Yep.
Yeah, for
It's
the
just the pressure, like the
Yeah.
pressure and the warmth
Yeah.
is really gonna heat it faster than
rubbing.
rubbing. Yeah,
That's-
so it,
Yeah, for the alcohol, I mean, there's different schools, I guess. But
yeah, I think it's the whole circulation, and I think it can just kind of give you a false sense of warmth too. So
it's not the healthiest way to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
But
I
yeah,
suppose it's just making sure that the person heats up their body in a slow, safe way. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the same thing that we're going to talk about for frostbite as well. Same idea.
and I think that for the radiant heaters and all that, I mean, you can have them but you don't want to be too close to it. You don't want to be on it. I think
Right.
having an extra radiator in the place because you need to warm up somebody is fine. You just don't want to put them on, with their hands on it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Mhm.
And so we're going to talk about frostbite too, which is an injury caused by freezing, and it can lead to a loss of feeling and color in the affected area. Areas of your body that are most susceptible are going to be your nose, your ears, cheeks, chin. So the majority of your face, fingers, and toes. And frostbite is dangerous. It can permanently damage the tissue, and it could lead to amputation if it's severe frostbite. But I think the thing that maybe would surprise people is that it can happen in minutes. Like it can, if the conditions are favorable, if it's cold, but just not cold, also windy and wet, then that's like the perfect storm for, really cold weather, that can lead to frostbite in those areas. So the signs, and you can see, kind of the pictures, up top here, the signs are going to be like a white, kind of grayish yellow skin area, or skin that feels like kind of waxy, kind of numb, and may have like a persistent burning sensation. So you can see, like in the first degree, it just looks like your fingertips are kind of red. Second degree, they look more white. Probably that's where you're going to see like the white, waxy colors. Maybe looks like there could be some couple blisters, popping out at that point. Third degree, more reddish blisters. And then fourth degree is the worst. And you can see the skin actually looks black, or the tissue is actually dying in that picture. So prevention is going to be probably things that everyone is aware of, but limiting your time outdoors and really having no skin exposed when it is really cold, plus windy and wet. Really kind of covering up. Take that scarf and put it over your face. Make sure your hat is covering your ears, and make sure those areas are are really well covered. Even going back to the heated gloves, which are amazing. There's different settings on those. Even your eyes can get frostbite, your eyeballs. So, I mean, if it's really, first of all, if it's this bad or this cold, do not go outside. But we're talking about, obviously, if you have to go outside in these conditions, if you have ski goggles or something, even glasses that can kind of shield your eyes from the wind, that would be good. But goggles would be better, the kind that wrap around. And everything we've talked about, mittens rather than gloves, socks, hand warmers. You want to keep moving if you're out there, but you don't really want to move to the point where you're sweating, which could then make you cold. So, and you don't want to get overheated or exhausted. So keep moving, but not, we're not jogging just several miles or anything.
Sarah and I did a presentation one time on winter preparedness, and we had this retired ophthalmologist that was in the room, and he was from Russia, and he is actually the one that pointed out that eyes can be affected and get frostbite. He had treated many people in his home country with frostbite. So obviously we might not have that weather here in New England, but to the point is that eyes are can be affected and can be damaged by the cold and the wet, and the wind. So, to be careful to protect yourself.
From it was really interesting.
It was very interesting.
Hear about that. That was new for us. Okay, so treatment. So we talked a lot about frostbite and what it is and how to prevent it. So again, this is going to be along the same lines of the hypothermia treatment, but you want to protect your skin from further exposure, get out of the cold, move indoors, remove any wet clothes. And then the key here is gently and slowly rewarming those areas that have frostbite. So we don't want to any skin to be in contact with direct heat. So no stoves, no hot water, or heating pads. Because you've lost feeling in those areas, it's really easy to burn yourself because you're not going to be able to feel it if you're too close to that heating source. So really important that you're gently and slowly rewarming these areas. Take pain medication, try to stay off. Do not use the area that's frostbitten. So if it's your feet, don't walk on them. If it's your hands, don't use them. Just wrap them. This is where the tissue can get damaged if you're rubbing or doing something that you're not supposed to. It's very vulnerable tissue at this point. So just wrapping your hands in blankets, and definitely seeking medical attention if you think you might have frostbite, and then know what it looks like when your skin is thawing. So it's okay that it turns red. It's okay that it's tingling and kind of burning as it warms up and the blood flow is returning.
It's actually a good sign.
Yes. So don't be nervous if that happens. If the numbness or pain remains during warming, or or blisters are developing, then you want to get medical attention for that. So the do's, if you can read the screen, you're going to seek medical attention, go to a warm location, use blankets or skin-to-skin contact for rewarming.
Get those blankets. I mean, they're so useful.
Rest the area. You don't want to put ointments or bandages on these areas. You don't want to drink or use alcohol or nicotine because that can affect blood flow. So you want to stay away from those products, and you don't want to rub the affected area or exposed to like direct heat. All right, so we're still outside and we want to talk about fall prevention. Fall prevention is an important topic any time of year. And so it's always good to be working on fall prevention. So not just before the winter, but really any month of the year. But in particular, in the winter, it can be really brutal. So we have a tip Sophie and I talk about during our winter presentations, is to walk like a penguin, do the penguin shuffle. You don't see penguins slipping and falling on the ice. They have it down pat. So they walk flat-footed, they take real short steps, they walk with their arms to the side so that they can balance.
Not in their pockets, not
in their
texting or
pockets.
talking on the phone.
Right. And they're maintaining balance while they're walking. So we've done this several times. If it's icy, if it's snowy, if you can't tell if it's what's happening on the surface, then just walk like a penguin and you should be in good shape. But yes, as we know, falls can be very detrimental. So don't go outside if it's icy unless you absolutely have to. And these are all things that we've talked about. You know, try not to carry things so that you can keep if you're carrying 2 bags and you fall, you're not going to be able to brace yourself for the fall if you have stuff in your hands. So take a backpack if you can, or just try to have your hands out and available in case. Use the kitty litter or ice melt for your walkways. That is going to be crucial.
Good boots.
Yes, get really good boots, or get these Yak Tracks, which we brought to show you.
So Yak Tracks are little things that you put on your shoe, and it has this wire underneath, so that when you're walking on the ice or on the snow, you have more traction. So they are called Yak Tracks. Sarah and I actually were trying them on this morning before plugging in with you, Debbie. And they are not super easy to put on. So it takes a little practice,
Yes.
I think. But I
put
think
them on any shoe. It doesn't have to be a boot.
Yeah.
You could just have a regular sneaker and put these on
put these on.
and make it into a
Yes.
boot.
Yeah,
type
to make
thing.
it something that has more traction. So I think that there is a value to it. One of the drawbacks is that you have to put them when you're outside, and you have to take them off before you come inside, so that you don't damage your floors.
Yeah.
So if you have trouble with balance, or you don't find a place to sit down to do it, or it's really cold and windy, so there is some drawbacks to it, but I think that there is still some value to it if you can manage to get used to them. So I wouldn't completely discount them.
No.
It's a good tool. It's something to have in your toolbox. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, and you can make any pair of shoes into something that has more traction for the winter.
Also, they're not super expensive. I think they were like, what, 20,
30 or
20
something.
$25 maybe. So they're not super expensive. So if you can't afford to buy really good pair of boots, this could be a good way to have better tractions on your existing boots.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a very good point. And what I was thinking about as you were talking is maybe designating a pair of boots that has those, so you don't have to keep taking them on and off. And before, when you're entering your house, just leaving it in your entryway and having a pair of sneakers or shoes or slippers ready for you when you're walking in the house.
Yeah, that's great. But if you're using them to go to the store, for example, you can't walk with them in the store, so you would have to be able to remove them.
Yeah.
You're going,
So
Yeah.
I was gonna say like a slip-on shoe that you could just slip off when you got home. But then again, if you were going to the grocery store, you'd have to take it off anyway. So
that's a very, very good point. And I was interviewing another person a few months ago. She lives in Minnesota, and she's elderly. One of her tips for me was, you talk about the ice melt and the kitty litter. She said she would carry a handful in her pocket with her so that, in case she does happen to be walking in the parking lot or somewhere that's kind of icy, she has a handful of the kitty litter that she would put in front of her. So that way she's able to walk more sure-footedly. So I thought that was
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. A little Ziploc bag.
yeah.
And we also want to remind folks to get their flu and COVID shot. Shots are available at your primary care physician's office, hopefully through any major pharmacies in the area. They also have state-run mobile clinics. The website was too long to put on here, but if you go to mass.gov, you can search. They have a list of where those clinics are being held. As well, you can go to vaccines.gov, and there's additional resources there. Also, the state has a homebound flu and COVID program, and so we wanted to list the number for that as well. So you can call and they'll come to your house for those vaccines.
Prepared our home, we prepared ourselves. Now, if you have a car, you need to prepare your vehicle as well. So you want to make sure that your car is properly winterized, and you want to, before the winter, have a mechanic check your battery, change your wiper blades, and refill your wiper fluid with antifreeze fluid. Check your tire threads and tire pressure. And if you live in an area that gets a lot of snow, consider getting snow tires. Check your four-wheel drive if you have a four-wheel drive vehicle. Make sure that your radiator is in good order and has antifreeze levels. The oil, and then check your belts and hoses. I mean, whatever your mechanics is gonna do. But you want to have that done ahead of time, especially if you have a car that's a little older, that's on the older side, that, make sure that all this is working perfectly. In the winter, and I think it's a good tip anytime, but especially in the winter, make sure that you have at least your gas tank full at all times throughout the winter. You never know when you could be stuck somewhere in the snow or in traffic, so you want to make sure that you're not gonna, be out of gas.
I need to do that.
He needs to do it.
I need to do that.
Good reminder, huh?
Yeah.
And then, just like you have a little, go bag in your home, you want to have a little go bag in your car, just in case, like I said, you get stranded on the side of the road in a blizzard or a storm, or you have no more gas in your car and you're in the cold for 2 hours and with no heat, right? So stock your car with emergency supplies, have, a snow shovel, maybe some cat litter in case you get stuck in the snow, some booster cables, flares, tire pumps, a battery operated radio, maybe also a flashlight with batteries, a cell phone charger, and extra batteries, some road maps in case you lose your phone and you have no more, GPS. You need to be able to, find your directions. And then stuff to stay warm, extra coats, hats, gloves, blankets. Again, having some Mylar blankets, like I showed you earlier, those are great. They don't take space and they're really warm. Maybe a little bit of food. I don't know about the water. When we say water, maybe if you're going on a long trip, have some water with you. I wouldn't stock water in my car in the winter because it will freeze and it will, you wouldn't be able to use it. But if you're going on you're not in the neighborhood, you're going to go somewhere, maybe have some water with you just in case. A first aid kit, and then some plastic bag for sanitation.
Yeah, and then I keep this portable charger in my car. And so what this is just a battery. But the cool thing about it is that I can plug in these jumper cables. So when I keep this charged, I keep it in my car. And then if my car dies, I can use this to jump it. So I don't need another car. I don't need, another car to get in front of my car. This is a great, great option. And it also, these are kind of outdated now, but it has a USB port on it. So I can, and then it comes with all these cords. So basically, I mean, anything with a USB can plug into here and it can charge it. So I believe I got this on Amazon, and I want to say it was somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $50. As long as you can remember to keep this charged, and keep it in your car, this is a lifesaver, and it's helped me out a couple different times.
It's also a flashlight.
Yes, it is. It also has a flashlight in the front there. So this is a really great product. There's several different versions out there.
I want to get one for my car.
Everyone should have one of these. It's amazing.
All right, and our last topic, and we kind of talked a little bit about it. It's pets in winter. If you have pets in winter, if it's too cold for you, it is for them too. So make sure that, and I think we're talking particularly about dogs. I mean, most cats are indoors, but if you have an indoor-outdoor cat, you also want to make sure that, bring them indoors if it's too cold or too windy. But, so dress your pet with a sweat, with your sweater or a coat when they go out. Protect their paws from the road salt. They have those little booties for dogs. And if your dog doesn't like the booties, when you come back in, make sure that you wash their paws so that the road salt doesn't affect their tissues. They're very, very sensitive.
Yes, the road salt is very
It burns.
dangerous. Yeah, it's really painful for
Yeah.
dogs or any animals. But yeah, make sure you kind of wipe that off or just check it. It can get stuck too in between their pads.
Yeah.
So you really want to check their feet. And they I don't know if you said this, but they make the
little booties.
Yeah, and also they make pet friendly ice melt too.
Yes, that is true.
So, I mean, not everyone is going to have that if you're walking neighborhood streets, but at least you could use that on your steps, so that will help with the animals too.
And just like us, if they are wet, they are going to be cold. So same thing as we do for us, when you come back in, make sure that you get them dried up and warmed up when you get indoors. We talked a little bit about the go bags for pets. It's a good idea to have one. But, if you can keep in mind that, just like our pets are, if it's too hot for us, it's too hot for them in the summer. It's the same thing for, our dogs, is maybe except if you have a breed like a husky who is always going to be too hot even in the winter here. But, if you have most dogs are going to be really cold in the winter and need, a coat and maybe, even a waterproof coat.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of the end of our presentation. We wanted to give our contact information. If anybody has any questions, they feel free to contact us. And we have a lot of preparedness and safety information on our website at brooklinema.gov/OEM.
One quick advice that you want people to come away with based on what you shared today, what would that be?
Mine would just be really to prepare ahead of time. Do not wait until the last minute. A lot of this stuff can be done well in advance. And it really will be significant if you do lose power or you do need to leave your home. You're going to be in much better shape if you have some of these things in place. That would be my tip.
Yeah. All right. I was going to say the same thing, but I'm going to give another tip. My tip would be that even though it seems there's so much to do, it seems so overwhelming, just remember that if you do one thing, you're better prepared. So even if you can only do one little thing, do it because you will be better prepared. It's better to do just a few things than nothing at all because you're overwhelmed.
Yep.
Thank you so much for being on the program. We all appreciate all your wisdom, and we look forward to having a safe and happy winter time because of everything you've shared with us. So,
Well, thanks for having us on your show, Debbie.
Yeah,
Oh.
we love being here.